Good evening and welcome to this leadership event entitled Let's Talk Mentorship and Sponsorship. My name is Jennifer Charles and I'm an administrative fellow with Luminous Health in Annapolis, Maryland. On behalf of the National Black MBA Association, Washington, D.C. chapter, we welcome you. A special thanks to our host and treasurer of the chapter, Mayma Richards, for the invite. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to speak with two very special guests, Charles C. Mocha Jr. and Danielle Scott. Charles Mocha is a certified fraud examiner and a member of the Association of Fraud Examiners, the world's largest anti-fraud organization. He graduated from Bowie State University with an accounting degree and received his master's in business administration at the University of Maryland Global Campus. He is also a senior business consultant at Ernst & Young, offering enterprise and technology risk services to his public sector clients. And he is also a passionate public speaker and founder of the Principled Minds podcast. Danielle Scott is the membership chair of the National Black MBA Association Washington, D.C. chapter. And Danielle is an innovative HR professional who correlates business vision and HR initiatives that improve performance, growth, and employee engagement. She's a genuine influencer who thrives on tough challenges and translates visions and corporate strategies into actionable, value-added results. Thank you so much, you two, for joining us.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, thank you. So we can just go ahead, get right into the questions. To both of you, I would ask, what is a mentor or what is a sponsor? What are the core attributes of these?
Awesome. Great way to start it off. I'm so super excited to be a part of this leadership event. Thank you again for the opportunity. I'll go ahead and take the first stab at it and answer the first part of the question at least. What is a mentor? For me, a mentor is someone that you can rely on to guide you in the path of career-wise, maybe even relationship building, maybe even personally, spiritually, mentally. I think mentors are invaluable and in this day and time, underrated. Mentors are definitely a valuable resource that each and every individual should be able to connect with and gather and feed off of that knowledge base, bringing that you guys have between each other. Mentorship is definitely the epitome of who I am, and it'll be a great opportunity for anyone who decides to partake in a mentor.
Thank you, Danielle. How about you, Charles? What would you say?
I would say mentorship is really someone that is experienced in a particular area that you're looking to advance in, whether it's in your career or very similar to what Danielle said, your relationship, just someone that is willing to support your journey in making sure that you achieve the level of success that you have envisioned yourself to achieve in any career path or in any area of your life. And in a lot of cases, there is a thought that a mentor is ideally someone that is older than you are, or someone that has a significant knowledge that is beyond what you currently have. But I really do think that it is just an opportunity for you to develop relationships with people that can help you get you one step closer to whatever your vision is for your career or for your life.
Absolutely, thank you. I would agree with both of your answers. Now, one thing that I noticed was a recurring theme was your professional journey or your career. So is it important in one's professional journey to either have a mentor or a sponsor? Do you feel that you need both?
Yeah,
that's a really great question.
Go ahead, Charles.
Thank you, Danielle. That's a good question. I think it is valuable to have both. I don't think we spoke on what a sponsor or who a sponsor is. So I do think from a sponsorship standpoint, I would say a sponsor is someone who is willing to speak for you in rooms where you are not present. Mm-hmm. Someone who is willing to invest their social dollars, their reputation dollars. I call it dollars, but it's really someone who is willing to go above and beyond in your absence, whether it's financially, whether it's speaking on your behalf, again, for the purpose of getting you one step closer to whatever your vision or your dream is for your life or for your career. A mentor can also be a sponsor. So it's not it's not purely defined that these two roles will be different. It could definitely be the same person, but again, seeing it as an opportunity for you to get you one step closer to your vision, just people doing it in different ways. So is it important to have both? Absolutely. I think it's great to have both, because again, they serve two relatively different purposes, but all with the intention of helping you achieve one goal. So yes, to answer your question, it is valuable to have both roles.
I agree 100%, Charles. I think to your point about the sponsorship being almost an ally, someone to really speak for you, to, like you said, in the rooms that you're not available in, right? Someone to boast and brag about your positioning and how maybe this opportunity could be even more of a value add if you and only you were able to be a part of this. I think there's also the financial aspect of it. Sometimes our mentors can be someone who can give us that extra boost that we need to apply for instance, for my people who are in school, that application fee, that scholarship that's costly. They could be all of those things, but to your point, they aren't defined, but they are collaborative in nature, and I think they go hand in hand. So I would agree, we can have both.
Nice. Okay. So to add to my Christmas list, I need a mentor and a sponsor. Check.
That's right.
Now, could you share examples of mentors in your life and how they've supported your career development?
Yeah, I'll go first here. I have I'm a byproduct of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. And if you know anything about that organization, it is, like I said, built on the epitome of mentorship. I am matched and have been matched, I should say, for wow, well over 12 years now, with a big sister. And as a byproduct, I also got her daughter, who actually is a year or two older than me. I don't know where my life would have been if I didn't have the attention, the resources, the experiences, the connections that she and her daughter have been able to provide for me. And so when I think about, is it important, and how important is it? For me, it is something that wouldn't define who I am. I'd be less than to exclude them from the makings of Danielle without having them mentioned.
Nice. How about you, Charles?
Danielle, so very well said. I think, very similar to what Danielle said. I can't even imagine where I'll be right now in my career if I didn't have a mentor or someone who in some way has spoken for me in rooms where I'm just not present or I'm just not available. I remember my first mentor was a lady that connected with me while I was in college. My very last year in college, she was actually working at the firm that I first interned. So we built a relationship there, and then over time, she continued to support me throughout my journey in my last year of school, my final year in school, college, and throughout my career up till now. So you can imagine from 2016, she has served as not only a mentor, but quite honestly, a sponsor, because there are people that I've met in my journey who said, oh, this person said so and so about you, or put in a good word for you. And that meant so much to me to even know that in my absence, she was still there to support me and speak for me and speak positively about me. But it was also very important for me to do my part in that journey, because beyond just having a mentor, having someone who is willing to stick out their neck for you, it is also your responsibility as a mentee to make sure that you are doing what it takes to be successful so that people would have something to say about you. It is a lot difficult when someone wants to be your mentor or coach you in some way, but then you're not doing your part as a mentee to help them help you, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I'll say for me, mentorship has been a critical part of my career journey, and I've had a couple of mentors and still have a couple of mentors I still keep in touch with, and keep me accountable to make sure that I'm doing what I say that I'm going to do, and make sure that I achieve the level of success that I need to achieve.
Thank you for that answer. I can definitely resonate with both of your responses. Me personally, I don't know where I'd be without a mentor. Just recently wrapped up my MBA last winter, and I thought I was, doing the right things and I'm applying for jobs. But it's different when you have someone who's gone through the experience and they're like, okay, but do you have a network? Are you joining these professional organizations? Are you connecting in these groups? So as an early careerist, that was definitely something that I felt was pivotal in my career. So could you speak to mentorship a bit for early careerists or students?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to first start off by saying congratulations to you. That's a huge accomplishment, a huge accolade that we do not want to just skim over. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Applause
Absolutely.
For you. Secondly, I definitely want to start off by at least acknowledging the fact that there is a multitude of ways that we can be invested in mentors or in mentees rather. I spoke about the financial aspect about being able to provide them to financial resources, maybe even sitting with them, helping them to figure out how to apply on applications. Maybe even just being a sounding board that they can bounce ideas off. I understand that when I, was finishing up my MBA degree, it was something that I definitely needed. A sounding board it was critical for me. Someone to, hey, could you review this business plan? Does this sound right? Is this making sense? You run a business. Is this something that would be vital for a business to operate and things of that nature? And it was just incredibly helpful for me. I personally don't have any siblings. I'm the only child. And so I rely on myself a great deal of the time. So it was just life-changing for me to be able to speak with someone else. And I would hope in a mentee role, you would not suffer in silence, similar to you, right? You would go out and seek that help from someone who's trustworthy, who's knowledgeable, who has the advice. And again, you hear me say a lot, who's value added, right? Someone who's rooted and grounded in that development and personally in your development. And that person will be able to guide you along the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Danielle. Do you have anything to add to that, Charles?
Danielle, it's so funny how much we have in common. I'm also an only child, and when you saying that reminded me of the times when I thought as well that I had to figure this out all on my own. Where naturally the almost default action for me mentally is to figure things out myself. And even though that's great, it's also very helpful to have someone that can say, or that you can run by or run certain things by, to say, hey, listen, I'm about to take this action. I have an initial thought, but I'm very curious to know what you have to share, or how I can better navigate my journey. And having someone there to guide you through every step of the way makes a huge difference. I cannot tell you how painful it was for me when my junior year in college, there were a group of students, high school students, that came to tour the campus, and they wanted to learn a little bit about the College of Business and learn about some other majors that exist outside of what they had always heard of, in the science field. And I met this gentleman who was told by his parents that he has to do computer engineering because that's where the money lies, like he said. But he said deep inside him, he didn't want to do that. That wasn't the career path that he wanted to do or he wanted to pursue. But he didn't know better. He didn't know if there were other options. But he heard when myself and my colleagues, my fellow students, spoke about the accounting field, and it triggered the whole concept of business in him. And after that session, he connected with me and told me, hey, listen, I would really love to learn more about the business field. I really connected with what you all said. And I think that's the path for me. I just don't know how to convince my parents to do otherwise. And I felt that, because I'm sure that wasn't the first time he was struggling with that thought of, do I really want to pursue this career path? Part of the reason is because, one, he probably doesn't have representation. People around him that have done something different from what they're doing, what he's used to, or someone who has provided the guidance needed to allow him and even the space to think outside the box. And sometimes it really takes someone else that you don't know, or someone that is just outside of the people you constantly surround yourself with, to give you an opportunity to think outside of the box and outside of what you're usually used to thinking about. And I really thought that what you just shared is very important, because regardless of where you are in your career, especially for the young careerist, it is very critical to have representation, people that can be able to guide you, people that have possibly been where you're looking to go, so that you can get the appropriate guidance you need to get to where you need to be.
Of course. Well said, Charles.
Very well said. I can agree with that. So both of you have spoken on, as mentors, what qualities you should possess, being able to speak about your mentee if they're not in the room, being able to show that representation, having that experience. But if we took the table and we look at a mentee, what qualities would you want that person to possess? How would you, if you could build this dream mentee, what would they look like? What would they do?
I would say here, three things come to mind, or three attributes. One is enthusiasm. And I say enthusiasm because you as an individual, as a mentee, would need to want to achieve success first. It has to be a desire that you have, and you have to be incredibly interested in wanting to develop yourself. Because think about it, if you are looking to mentor someone and the person is not interested in being mentored, there's a great chance that relationship will fail. There's a great chance that you will not add the value. You as a mentor would not add the value that you need to add in the life of that mentee. And that mentee would not be able to adequately receive whatever it is that you're giving to him or her, because they are not prepared and really enthusiastic about their journey in general. So I think it's important that, as a mentee, it's critical that you have, as an individual, you are enthusiastic about your journey, enthusiastic about what you want to learn, and also understand that regardless of how the journey may seem, you're going to encounter challenges. But again, it takes some level of enthusiasm and excitement and interest for what you're doing to overcome those challenges when you do encounter them. So one is enthusiasm. Two is respect. I say respect because this is a two-way relationship. In as much as you as a mentee should respect your mentor in terms of the time that they are dedicating to you, I myself as a mentor would also respect you because, again, I've seen that you are enthusiastic about your journey. You are willing to invest the time that is needed to progress in your career. And so, as much as I'm giving you that respect, the hope is that you offer that same respect to your mentor, because then your mentor believes that because you're enthusiastic, because you're willing to do what it takes to succeed, you would respect the time and the resources that the mentor is investing in your career. And lastly is hard work. I know there's a lot of talk out there about, work smart and not hard, but quite honestly, you need to do both. You just have to do both. Working smart is being able to surround yourself with the right people so you learn from their experiences in order for you to avoid certain mistakes that you could make. But what happens when you've learned that? You have to apply those, and it takes some level of hard work to apply the experiences and what you've learned from your mentor. So hard work is critically important. So again, the three are someone who is enthusiastic, someone who is respectful, and someone who is hardworking.
Got it. That's a hard list to follow, Charles. But I will add 2 additional things to your list, because I think your list is already the building blocks of what a mentee should, some of those characteristics a mentee should come with. I would add honesty and integrity. I think about what those 2 things mean to me, and they are critical. They are critical to the overall mission. I say honesty because I definitely want to be able to have someone that comes to you wholeheartedly and tells you exactly what they're experiencing, and then is receptive enough to be able to receive whatever feedback I may give, even if it's not necessarily the feedback that they are looking for in that moment, in that time, right? And it takes a lot. It takes a really open, candid, conversational a moment for that to be received. But I think the pillar of that all is just honesty and being open, right? So I would definitely add that. And then lastly, I would add integrity. With everything that mentee does, they should understand that every move that they make at that point of entering in the mentorship is a reflection of not only themselves, but that mentee as well, right? And when you think about what that means to you, it should be, I want to make every bit of my existence greater than it's ever been in life, right? And the only way I can do that is by having a level of integrity that is impenetrable, right? And I think that that's exactly what a mentee should have. And if you have the 3 qualities that you listed, Charles, and honesty, integrity, I think you're pretty well-rounded mentee, and you'll go far in life, no doubt.
Nice, thank you. 2 very robust answers. I feel like you just built a super mentee with those 5 qualities.
But also, I do want to quickly share this as well. I know there may be people listening right now that could say, well, I don't particularly think I'm really enthusiastic, or maybe I have areas in my life that I need to develop, and I don't think that I am worthy of being a mentee because I don't have these characteristics. And my message to you, if you're listening to this, is you are worthy. You don't need to be perfect to be a mentee. It, as a matter of fact, is as a result of your imperfection that you need a mentee. And even the greatest people in the world have mentors. That is why some of the largest organizations, I know, for instance, the company that I work for, we have a mentorship program where even the partners, the executive directors have coaches or counselors, have mentors. And this has been created within the system because we all are flawed, and it is our responsibility as individuals to support each other. And that is the reason why organizations like this are putting these types of programs together, to give back and to show you that there are people who are willing to invest their time, their resources to make your vision for your life a reality. But one thing that people cannot change and cannot help you do is be excited about where you want your life to go. That is why enthusiasm is critical. You have to want to succeed, because when people see that, they are more willing to support that journey. But don't think that you need to have 100% of these, characteristics or attributes in order for you to be a mentee. You don't. But you need to, at least at a minimum, be excited about what you're looking to do for your life, and have some level of integrity and honesty, like Dale shared.
Well said, Charles. I think about in this situation of church, they say, "Come as you are," right?
Come as you are.
Come as you are.
Okay, we're about to start preaching in here in a minute. No, but I think that's a great point. You come as you are. There's no perfect student. There's no perfect executive. There's no perfect professional. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. We all, if you have an MBA, we know about the SWOT analysis. So we all have our areas of opportunity, and our mentors can help us grow in that space and in that realm. And Charles, you spoke to how some listening may feel that, okay, maybe I'm not perfect. Maybe I'm not this perfect mentee. Maybe I'm not worthy, and you've already made it clear you're absolutely worthy. But there may be some listening also who are possible or potential mentors, and they haven't taken on a mentee yet. So what advice would either of you give to that individual about the rewards of being someone's mentor and seeing that individual develop professionally?
Wow, that's a really impactful question there, and I don't know if I'm able to answer that alone, but I know Charles will be able to back me up 100% there. I would definitely say to a mentor or someone seeking to become a mentor, one of the things that you should be prepared for is the time commitment that it takes to invest in someone, right? You know, it may not, if you think that it's only going to be a few hours of a week or a few days out of the month. Think about the planning that goes into that. You know, what can happen when you guys are actually meeting, right? The invaluable time that maybe you spend speaking or connecting with them later. I just think having a really solid grounding of the immense time constraint that this will set you off in great footing. But I don't want to deter anyone. I don't want to say this is going to be a huge time commitment. And if you don't have the time, if you're a busy working professional, this is not the thing for you, because that would be the exact opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying carve out time, plan as a business professional, dedicate some allocated time for this individual, because with all of the characteristics and the attribute that Charles mentioned before that they come with, or maybe they come as they are, you should also meet them and be able to match them with your time and dedication to their goals, their objectives, their career development. And I think that that's a great start there.
Danielle, that's very well said. And one thing I would love to add to that is, in terms of impact, it is critical for every mentor, potential mentor, to understand that mentorship is a gift. It is a gift. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's a gift. We have a phenomenal opportunity as mentors to impact someone's life. To me, that's a huge deal. It's great to know that as an individual, you have an opportunity to literally impact someone's career, someone's life, someone's relationship, just based on simply sharing your experience, simply sharing the mistakes that you made and how you overcame those mistakes, or the challenges that you faced and how you overcame those challenges. And having someone just listen to that and be able to completely transform their lives simply because you shared a message. So I think it's a gift. And I got this concept from one of my guests on my podcast, The Principled Minds, Sid Modos, who I had the same conversation with about mentorship and coaching. And he said the same thing. He said, mentorship is a gift. It's a gift that each and every one of us have to contribute to the advancement of our society. And what great way to do that than having it through conversations, sharing your experiences. As a matter of fact, I dare to say that part of what we're doing here is a form of mentorship. We are in some way sharing our experiences so that someone out there who is looking to be a mentee or a mentor can be able to learn and hopefully change their mindset on what mentorship means and the direction they want to take in their lives as a result of this conversation. So what a great gift to positively impact someone's life through sharing our own experiences. And I think that's really what the impact and the benefit is for every mentor out there who is considering being a mentor.
Thank you. Two very profound answers. So when we're talking about the gift of mentorship, we can dive more into the relationship between the mentor and the mentee. So do you believe that it's a two-way investment, or rather should it be one-sided?
I personally couldn't think of any situation between a mentor and a mentee where it was completely one-sided. I think, just to echo the sentiments of Charles earlier, if there was only a very small investment in one or the other, then perhaps that's already the dissolution of the relationship. I think that it is definitely a two-way street, and the mentor may not understand or see it as a two-way street because you are the giver in this aspect. But what happens when you start to pick up and develop your own self and how to be a greater mentor from your mentee? Then now that's the transfer of information, the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of gift giving, right? And the epitome of a two-way street. I personally believe that, what we put out to the world, we received tenfold many times, right? The goodness that we put out to the world, we receive that back in. With the relationship of a mentee versus mentor, you're putting out that goodness into the world. You're investing into this young creative mind who's going to one day develop into someone unimaginable to today's society. And that person is going to turn around and say, I am who I am because of X, Y, and Z. Or maybe they don't say it at all, but maybe you just see the pure gratification of knowing that you helped, assisted, navigated, stayed on the phone for countless amount of hours, gave a lending ear to this person, whatever that means to you and whatever that means to your mentorship relationship. But you can definitely bear the fruit of that relationship in a two-way capacity.
I don't think there is even anything more to add from what Danielle said.
I was just going to ask, Charles, do you have anything to add? But
she said it just perfectly well. Like it's I think one thing to also think about when you're thinking about yourself as a mentor is being vulnerable. I think it's we are often tempted as mentors to believe that you are the only one given, but like Danielle said, you have a phenomenal opportunity to also learn how to be a better mentor through mentorship. But beyond that, I think also that as you're sharing your thoughts and insights with someone, you would realize that there are a couple of things that you happen to have answers to that you never thought you had an answer to. And as a result of you sharing your experiences, it gives you an opportunity to also reflect on yourself, reflect on some of the challenges that you're hearing from your mentee that could also be a challenge for you, that you just never thought of a solution. But for whatever reason, the moment that you put on the hat of a mentor, you were able to come up with a solution that could also be a solution to a challenge that you are facing. So it is a two-way street. It's a relationship that you are building with someone in order for you both to help get you to where you want to be, wherever that is, whether it's in your career or your relationships. But I think it's critical to see it as a two-way relationship between two people honing their experiences and their relationship in order to achieve an ultimate goal.
Of course.
I can definitely agree with that answer. It's definitely a two-way street. As you both mentioned, through my own personal mentorship experiences, it's definitely been a two-way street. It could be something as simple as, hey, you don't know how to use Zoom, here, click this button, and turning them into Zoom experts, to something as simple as, like, hey, I'm a seasoned professional, I work in healthcare. So I work amongst seasoned professionals who are masters at their craft, but with me being a recent MBA graduate, it's like I have the latest and the most novel information, fresh, bright ideas. So while I'm learning from them, they're also learning from me. And I think that's something definitely important for mentors to keep in mind, that it's not necessarily just you investing your time, but you're also reaping benefits of having this fresh perspective as well.
I do have a question for you, Jennifer. And I know you're the one facilitating, but I just have to switch this up a little bit. So you mentioned something that was really interesting, and you said, in as much as you were learning from them, they were learning from you. How do you feel when you know that someone that you look up to um, comes to you or could feel comfortable coming to you, asking you a question that you may have an answer to? What do you feel internally, and is that something that gives you some type of reassurance that you also have something to contribute to any conversation?
That's actually a great question. So when I view, as you mentioned, someone who I assume is more experienced and should have all these answers, and they come to me for my perspective, for one, you feel empowered. I feel empowered to be able to provide my opinions. There's psychological safety. I know that if I provide this opinion, this is a safe space. And this is for learning purposes. I may give the wrong answer, but you're not going to say, oh, you're stupid. It's more so, well, based on my perspective and my experience, this is how I would take it. And we can speak in my current role as an administrative fellow. My job is to pretty much be a mentee. I'm just a sponge learning as much as I can. And as I mentioned, there are all these seasoned professionals, but they'll turn their head to me in the boardroom and say, well, Jennifer, what do you think? And to have, these seasoned professionals ask for my opinion, these people that I view as mentors, it's empowering. It's also affirming. It provides affirmation that, like, I may not be where I think the end goal is, but I've definitely arrived. There are people here who value my opinion and it's worth something. So I think that's something that mentees should also keep in mind too. Although you're a mentee, you still have a lot to offer and a lot to deliver as well.
Absolutely. And that really is a message to every mentor there to understand that, yes, you may be given all the thoughts and insights and guidance, but the person you're mentoring could also have some insights that could do two things that you just mentioned: empower the mentee themselves. Because again, your relationship with someone shouldn't make you feel any less than. It should instead empower you to almost completely engulf yourself in who you were born to be as a mentee, whatever it is that your calling is. Sometimes it's through mentorship and through conversations that you're able to completely evolve. So I think, again, great point mentioned there, but again, a good message to not only mentors but mentees as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. So another question that I have for both of you is, we speak on mentorship and we speak about professional development. And I think a lot of people assume the goal of professional development is to just keep working, to keep a job and to make more money. But what is the advice that you can give to your mentees to help plan a fulfilling career, not just keep running the rat race, get another promotion, get a nicer car, get a bigger house, but actually have a fulfilling career where they feel that they're actually happy and this is where they should be in life?
When I speak to anyone that I have a conversation with in my career day to day, serving as an HR director, and I'm interviewing them for a certain role, I ask them one question after we get through the pleasantries of where they, what they're applying for, how their characteristics and their attributes line up for that specific job or career. I ask them, does this opportunity make your heart sing? Right? And usually I get responses like, yes, those are very quick and nimble. You get those out of the way. And, my follow-up is why, how? But then there's also these more methodical people who take that question and they unpack it. And they say something along the lines of, well, this is just a career I want to be in because it's financially appealing to me, right? It will give me the big house, the nice car, the 40 acres and a mule, dare I say, right? And then there's other people that say, I'm not very certain where I want to be in my career. But what I know based off of what I've been exposed to, what I've learned from my mentor, what I've developed along my course of career path or career trajectory, is that this will allow me to reach stage here and stage there. right? And I really love and enjoy talking to those people because what I see is a path, right? I see a step ladder to get them where they need to be. And as an HR director, especially as an African American HR director, I want to make sure that I highlight people, the leaders of today, right? Who want to become the leaders of tomorrow, to guide them along that pathway of where they need to go and develop, right? So I think that's very critical for me, to being able to speak with each and every person and ask them exactly what makes your heart sing. Why do you want to be here? And I would advise that, anyone who is looking to, get across an opportunity or to engage in an opportunity, they think the same thing, right? You ask that one question to yourself: why am I doing this? Or what's my value add? How does this make my heart sing?
Thank you so much, Danielle. I would definitely echo that as well. So question for you, just circling
Sure.
back on that. When you ask that, what is the answer that you would hope to hear?
Well, I don't think there's any right answer, right? But I do think taking some time to uncover that question is really critical, right? Do you just skim over that question? Do you just say, oh, well, it is a quick way to $1, right? Or do you really think about, is this where I want to be? Is this what I've been poised to take on? Is this a career that I'm actually going to enjoy, right? And I think those are the people that I want to see excel, and I want to be able to guide them along that process, not just the everydayers of, hey, unemployment is very, very difficult right now to be a part of, and hiring is crazy in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm just looking for an opportunity.
Right.
I really want to hear the momentum behind it. I want you to be vulnerable, to expose yourself, to have a certain level of, echoing Charles, enthusiasm behind what you look to do. And that's just what I look for.
Thank you. And Charles, I want to definitely throw this question your way. It also kind of takes me back to your answer earlier about representation. And I think a lot of people, when they think of a career, they think of the careers that make the most money. I'm Haitian, and a lot of times, oftentimes growing up, my family, they were like, okay, you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. You've got to go to these big ticket jobs. And I never was interested in these careers, but I wanted to do something where I felt fulfilled. And I can say every day, this is very fulfilling, and this makes my heart sing. So in line with that, what would you say to a mentee? Like, this is how you plan for a fulfilling career. This is not the goal to get rich. This is not a get rich quick plan. This is not the way to necessarily get that 40 acres and a mule, but this is how you can be happy in your career.
I think, one thing I would say is first understand what your interests are, because I think there is a lot of, and this is something I've seen a lot in social media, and I've heard from a couple of people that say, pursue your passion. Even though that's really great to hear, how do you know what your passion is if you haven't explored a couple of interests, right? So the first thing I always say to anyone, and this is something I tell myself as well, I told myself as well when I was starting my journey, was create a list of some of the interests that you have, 5, 10 of them. Don't put any cap on that list. Just literally have a list of all the interests that you have, and then begin to group that list to figure out which of these interests you find most interesting or most excited about, and give them a shot. It's really great to do that when you're in college, because you have an opportunity to really explore. And I think this is where students can use that opportunity to try various internships around those interests to see if that's something they would even want to pursue full time or for, a significant amount of time. So those are the first couple of conversations I would have with any mentee, is create a list of interests, group them into the interest that you're most interested in versus the interest that you're least interested in, and then start tackling them. Start creating actionable steps to actually try them out and see what you're most interested in. And then it is in doing that that you'd realize those interests that really get you excited and really get you motivated. And I think that is when you can say, okay, these are the few things I'm willing to completely go all in. So that will be my response. And typically conversations that I have with anyone in college or even high school.
Thank you. Thank you both for those answers. Okay, so now I kind of want to go off topic a bit, but not necessarily. So we're in year 2, dare I say, going on year 3 of this pandemic. And one thing that we see, which is a hot ticket item, is remote work. So what is one piece of advice you'd give to a mentee about navigating their career in this era of remote work and making these lifelong connections and establishing these real connections that matter? Sometimes it's hard just writing someone on LinkedIn or just liking posts on LinkedIn or being on Zoom all the time. So what piece of advice would you give in order to navigate this kind of remote space that we're in?
I would say, similar to how you were ending with the ability of being, digitally connected across the world with numerous people, social media will, and, forever for a great deal of time, be the way to connect. Just looking at where we're moving into the metaverse, the digital space, right? I think utilizing those arenas in whatever capacity, the LinkedIn stuff, being able to connect would be tremendous help, right? I also think, aside from that, some of the more traditional ways of maybe not necessarily just connecting over social media, but when you connect, ask, hey, do you have an email to keep in contact with? May I call you, or maybe reach out to you? And I think some of those more traditional ways, sometimes, they fly under the radar, right? But I think they still have a great impact. I would rather, to your point, spend time talking with you over the phone as opposed to being on a Zoom call after I spent my entire 9 to 5 navigating many of those hours on Zoom or Teams or whatever capacity of, digital video conferencing we have. Right. I would rather get on the phone and be able to speak with you, or maybe write you an email of my list of interests, rated from high priority to low priority in Charles's way, and be able to bounce those ideas off of you. I think that would be incredibly helpful. And I just want to make sure that our mentees understand, don't feel like you have to follow the trend. And the trend may be only connecting on LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever the case may be. But think about some of those more traditional ways as well, because they are effective and they are impactful.
Absolutely. Like brunch. Brunch is effective, it's impactful. No one says no to brunch.
And who doesn't like to eat, right?
Who doesn't like to eat? How about you?
Exactly.
Anything to add?
I totally agree. I think definitely thinking a little bit untraditionally here would be really helpful. I think the first conversation really, as a mentor or even a mentee, I would say ask your mentor or mentee, how would you like to be communicated with? Like, what's the best or most comfortable medium for you? And I think from there, you'd be able to probably tell that a lot of people would be totally comfortable with getting on a call with you and just having a conversation, as opposed to making it very structured, setting up a Zoom call or a Teams call. And you would be very shocked how many people will be very comfortable with a quick 5-10 minutes call to catch up, or even a text. But I think, get in the way of thinking that you can only communicate one way is very important, because again, relationship building is flexible, and it really does take being willing to try different things in order to see what best fits and works for that relationship. So I would say, try giving the person a call, try texting, but again, you want to check in with your mentor or your mentee to see what best works for them.
Absolutely.
That ties back to your respect level, right? You want to have that respect for that person and use the avenue that they feel most comfortable with. And that works for you. Great points.
Thank you so much. Great answers. So now we're down to the last question of the evening. And I just want to take us back to Hill Harper's book, Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. And in the book, he discusses a non-traditional approach to mentorship, particularly in the African-American community. So I want to share this excerpt from the book. Sometimes things happen in your life that can cause you to question everything. In your letter, you told me that things at home aren't going the way you want them to go. It might seem easier to close your eyes and ears and act like you're just passing time. If you choose to do nothing, then you are making a choice. No matter what you do or don't do, you are always making a choice. So why not make a choice to be active and win at your life? In your experience, have you found yourself having similar conversations with any of your mentees or any, maybe in personal relationships where they may be a mentee, or maybe we can say not necessarily informal mentees? Have you found yourself having these discussions? And I know that was a great excerpt from the book. I know you're probably taking that.
It was amazing.
Because
You
I
have to
almost did want
digest
to
that.
be. Yes, I understand.
No, I
that
needed
as
a moment.
well.
I needed a moment to digest that too. One thing that really comes to mind is what you just said. Why not make a choice to be active? And it really hits home because I had a colleague of mine that shared with me that she wanted to make a transition to a totally different company. And during that conversation, she was like, well, I'm not sure that I'm skilled enough to make that transition. I don't have the experience, I don't even know where to start. So I'm just not going to do anything for now until I feel comfortable. And I asked her, what does comfort mean to you? What do you mean comfortable? And she said, well, I think I need to gain more skills. I need to do more in order to feel like I'm worthy or eligible for that type of position. And I asked her, have you spoken to anyone in that company or in that field that you're looking to go into to see what skills you need to learn? And she said, well, no. And I was like, so again, you haven't done anything yet to position yourself for success if you do choose to make that decision to pursue this path. So you not doing anything is already a choice, because again, you don't know what it would take in order for you to get that position, because you haven't done your research, you haven't spoken with people, you haven't networked. There's nothing you have done actively to get you prepared for that next journey. So I think we all have these conversations, even with ourselves. I mean, I'm not perfect either. There are things that I wanted to do. I've always wanted to do. For whatever reason, I gave myself reasons not to do it. But then had to convince myself to take some type of action, because not doing anything at all is not serving me and is not in any way going to get me to where I need to be. So I needed at that point to recognize, because it's sometimes we feel things and we don't call it what it is, right? So I think the first step is really recognizing when those thoughts come to mind. Those thoughts that are telling you, well, don't take any action at all. Just relax. You're comfortable where you are. Just stick to what you know. Recognize that thought. Acknowledge that, okay, this is here, and then move on. Take the action anyways. Because again, it is always going to be a no until you take action. But when you take action, then guess what? You have two options. You have a yes and a no. One of those would actually happen. But again, if you are not active, if you do not take any action to make that vision a reality, whatever that is, your answer would always be no. Your reality would almost always be negative.
I like that. Well
Absolutely.
said. The entire time you were talking, Charles, I kept thinking about manifesting and the ability to manifest your destiny and where that will take you in this glorious world, right? And I think about what I strive and what I, hope to be able to do on a daily, on a consistent basis, is be able to create a career path or maybe an opportunity for myself that I may not be in current moment, right? A path that's maybe non-traditional, right? It doesn't really make sense for a person like myself, but I see it, I believe it, I become it, right? I think about when I worked in Houston, my hometown, and I was working for a Fortune 250 company. And I had a manager reach out to me and she said, hey, I want to offer you a lateral position, but it's going to be great because some of the finance additives that you're doing now, it'll be removed. You'll be well within HR and you'll be fine. Perfect little nestle, in your respective niche. And I remember thinking, I've been doing the work. I've been putting in the effort for a full-fledged HR role. And although you don't see that path carved out for me, I believe it. I've manifested. It is my destiny. And maybe now my internal gut is telling me, just do a little bit more, maybe even do a lot more. Position yourself where you see yourself going, not where someone necessarily who is outside of your mentor or mentee relationship has you set. And I remember walking away after giving her a great big no and being like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. I may get fired tomorrow. What does that mean for me? How do I see myself developing from here? But something internally kept saying, push forward, push forward, push forward. Very next year, I relocated to a different state, right? All kind of just the luck of the draw. I took on that HR role. The very next year, I took on a strategic level role. Next year, I hope to take on a regional level role. But I set myself up for this success. And I've had numerous people along the way guide me along that path and give me that momentum that I need to believe in myself. But to Charles's point, there was a no sitting there. And I could have taken that no and stayed in my comfortable area, my zone where everyone else saw me being. But I took the yes, and I took the yes full-fledged. And I really, if there's anything that I can leave everyone listening to this presentation about, is always, always strive for the yes, right? Aim for the yes, even if you get the no.
That's great advice. To me, it sounds like a great quote that I love. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. But I'd add to that, you may as well shoot your shot anyways.
That's right. That is right.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up this evening, is there any last piece of advice that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I can go here. There's a quote that I totally love. I really cannot remember who made this statement because I heard it when I was 6 years old. But the quote goes, life is what you make of it. And it is the choices that you make that spices it up. And to me, when I think about that quote, it reminds me that you are in control of where you want your life to go. The choices and the decisions that you make really define your path. So it's very critical that you make it wisely. And it's very critical that you join organizations like this current organization. It's important that you expand your network, find the mentor that can give you the necessary guidance that you need in order to make the decision that you need to make to get you where you want to go. Because again, life is what you make of it.
Well said, Charles. I would, of course, it would be unlike me to not lead with a very church-like reference. One of my favorite Yolanda Adams songs, she quotes, "I'm the master of my fate, the captain of my soul," right? And I think that our students, our mentees, the career young-minded or the young professionals, right? You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, right? The destiny is yours. You just have to go after it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those words, Charles and Danny. We're so appreciative that you are giving back by serving as mentors and even as speakers for today's event. I just want to remind everyone here with us this evening listening that National Black MBA Association has a network of professionals. Networking and attending meetings provide an opportunity to meet and connect with a mentor. For me, at least, mentorship is important, and I believe we all can agree that it is beneficial to your career. And professional associations such as the National Black MBA Association support networking and relationship building that can translate into a lasting positive effect on your career. So we encourage all of you to get involved and to connect with either a mentor or a mentee. And I want to thank you all for joining us this evening to discuss mentorship and sponsorship, and we'll see you on our next webinar Wednesday.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you.